Hey guys, Mike with DCE. Today I'm here with Sam from Overland Ruff Racks. We have the new rack for the R1S SUV. We're going to show how that gets installed and some of the unique features that make that work. On the SUV behind us, it's a unique body line where at the front of the vehicle, the line's straight and it tapers towards the rear. So Sam came up with a pretty neat idea on how to get that taper and have a really nice looking rack. It would look kind of weird having this squared off rack on a nice curved body line of the SUV. So he's going to show you guys a little bit about how this works. And how this extrusion system and the universal mounting really comes together.
Yeah, we've been able to take our current platform in most cases on our full-size vehicles and kind of adapt it as a cross-platform. In this case, these mounting brackets here now can fit on the extrusion, and basically we can conform the rack by making them swivel. So these would be on the back fork. We'd start out in the front of the truck, as Mike said, it's 50 inches going straight back, right? You get to the midpoint of the rack and the back of the vehicle turns in. So again, having this swivel point here connected to the heavy duty 1x3 extrusions, we're able now to put this on the side rail, and now we can actually pivot this and take that rack and conform it along the back and make that look like it's actually a natural part of the vehicle and keep the dynamics of that contour looking the same.
And one of the other unique features is the front end.
Yeah,
we can go look at that. One of the things people ask right away when bolting anything on their EV is, what's it going to do to my range? And Sam, I know you spent a lot of time coming up with this solution and this angle and how close this gets to the front of the SUV. Everything was 3D scanned and
Yeah.
a perfect fit to really get the air up and over whatever ends up being on top of this rack, right?
Yeah, it's going to be either cases, it could be a tent, and like you said, being that we have the luxury of scanning the top of the roof, you are able to keep this tight. Another thing, a specialty that we've really taken to the next level is that we have an extrusion underneath here, and the extrusion underneath here helps a couple things. You don't want to have any harmonics with this thing chattering back
like
and forth.
Like wind pushing in on the front.
Absolutely, and because we have a two-piece design, shippability, modular, and what have you, you would tend to think this might be weak. This is a strengthening point for us. You also have a check bend in here, which will now drive the wind up and over. And again, if you have a case here, by Rome or anybody else, you can have a tent up here. And again, what the wind's gonna do, it's gonna come hit here, and typically it's gonna fly over. And I have a customer actually who's doing some testing. He's done a couple 1,000-mile testing, and it really hasn't changed a whole lot because of the dynamics of the wind and what it's doing. So we actually find he's getting better efficiency right now.
Great. And that there is an option with no light bar, correct?
Yes, there is. Yeah, there's two. So Baja Design's rigid. It's a 40-inch light bar. There's a connection point here, a two-piece connection point here, and it's a full fascia here. And so that'll take the place of the light bar and it'll be fully enclosed. And again, aerodynamic, wind's gonna hit, it's gonna pop over, extremely quiet, no whistling, and again, super, super strong.
And the way that this extrusion system works, right, these can actually slide in. So if you wanted to run a 30-inch light bar by a random manufacturer, these kind of just slide in and are universal.
In fact, we did something like that for SEMA. We were kind of at a SEMA crunch, remember that? We
yeah.
had a shorter light bar, we put a couple pod lights on here, and it worked out well. And again, that you have 80-20 extrusion, it's pretty versatile. You know, it really helps out. You have connection points everywhere, top, bottom, sides. We're using these T-nuts here to fasten it, stainless steel hardware. It's pretty durable.
Yep. And even all this hardware is black stainless. So none of this is rusting. We've actually had this out in the elements already and done a lot of testing, and nothing's tarnishing, nothing's rusting. So really happy with the results. Well, let's install this thing. We want to show you guys how this goes together, how the DCE mounting points work, and let's get it on the truck.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, so we're on the top of the truck right now, and you'll see that these are the proprietary Rivian mounting points. And on the top of this SUV, there's 6 of these. The factory crossbars, it's kind of almost like a door lock where it latches onto here. It's a nice system. It can be locked and removed easily, but it's really not as strong and as beefy and as low profile as we wanted. So we came up with this. We call these the DCE attachment points. And so these are CNC 6061 components that get installed like that. This is now your mounting location for any type of accessory you want to put on this, whether it's your Overland Ruff rack system, whether it's a whip, whether it's a strapping point, and this little plate goes on top. On the bed of the truck, if you're putting a rack on the truck rail, that goes directly over this with this plate. And then here on the roof, there's included with this kit a couple washers that go in here, and this bolts down, and on top of this plate is now the foundation and base for the rack. Now that I've installed these on this location, I'm gonna go to the 5 other locations on this SUV and get it ready for the rack. When installing on the roof, once the fingers are installed, there's 2 1/8-inch wide washers that are included that you set on there. Then you set the top plate. And you do this for all 6 locations, and then it's ready for the rack to sit on top of the DCE upper plate. Okay, now that we have the rack built following the instructions from Overland Ruff Racks, you end up with this. We have the Rivian mounting locations already set up on the roof. We're gonna get a couple guys so we can use these integrated handles to lift it. And with the vehicle all the way down, we're gonna lift, walk over and set it on. Then we're gonna put 2 of the stainless bolts that are included with blue Loctite on the 3 mounting locations. So we're gonna lift it and walk it over.
And I'll use this.
All right.
So you left hand there. There you go, Ray.
Okay, and that's it. Now that we've got the rack set on here, you can look down in there and you'll see the bracket, the top billet plate, all the way to the threaded hole. Sometimes we like taking a little tool and making everything align before you try to put a bolt in. Looks good. Take the supplied stainless hardware, put a little bit of blue Loctite, and then we recommend starting all these bolts by hand. Getting those started. Sometimes you might have to move the rack a bit, get everything to line up. There we go. And the way that these bolts work with the fingers is that you don't want to torque one all the way. You want to work your way down until they're both fully torqued. It's not going to be something that is left loose, kind of spring-loaded. It will fully bottom out and everything will get tight. Once you complete this, you'll do it for all 6 locations. Now that we've loosely installed the bolts on all the 6 mounting locations, you'll notice that on that bracket it's slotted so the entire rack can go right to left. This allows you to get the edge of the rack with the top of the body line and get it consistent from right to left. You can use a partner with a tape measure or just your eye really to see if the rack is centered. The front half of the rack is square, it's straight. It's 50 inches wide all the way back. So you can take these body line measurements. Once we get to the rear section, you'll notice that the rack starts curving in. Out of the box, when you install it, it should be pretty close. We just set this on the truck and it's very close already. To get that micro adjustment, as you work your way back, you can loosen the hardware on the top and bottom of this bracket and work the contour in, and then go ahead and tighten that hardware to set the curve and then torque all the bolts in. Okay, we just finished installing the Overland Ruff Rack on our Rivian SUV, and it looks great. It's super strong. It's now the foundation for anything you want to do, whether you're putting a tent, an awning, bikes, boxes, whatever you want to put on the top of this vehicle. And this design is really cool. You can see that taper follows the body line of the Rivian perfectly on both sides all the way down. That's something really unique, like we talked about earlier, and it really makes it look, it's a classy rack.
Yeah.
And this thing is strong. If Sam, I want to grab that side. I mean, you can see how the entire vehicle can move by grabbing that, and that's all connecting on those factory 6 locations. If you want to buy one of these racks, go to Sam's website, which is
overlandruffracks.com, and that's overland, RUFF, RAX.com.
Thank you.